on big data, and how do you think big data might affect security, both in positive way or negative way, if you have some thoughts on this?
I don't have a very serious thought, but always when your data grows, the integrity of the data becomes a big issue than confidentiality and other availability. Okay, in reality, that becomes the biggest issue for the organization. When you have multiple systems and all data are going to interact with each other, after 2 years, 3 years of life cycle, deduping the data, deduplication of the data, maintaining the integrity in terms of values and etc. becomes the biggest challenge. Okay. I'm not very clear how big data is going to address that, but as data grows, in my opinion, big data integrity is the key issue.
And Murali, do you want to add something?
See, I agree largely with the tactical difficulties and the operational difficulties Narayanan is expressing about. That's going to be a problem because you see, technically, big data is not the same as having very large amounts of data, right? So that is not the same. Big data is where we are trying to bring in a different perspective and the sharding, and we are going to have the scripts move to the data to do the computations rather than data move to the scripts in the traditional sense. Map reducing and Hadoop, HBase, various kinds of new technology that will allow you to connect disparate elements so that you can get data out of things. But this facility will allow somebody to actually build a complete profile of any individual whose data is available to you with different viewpoints. Earlier, there are people called, I'm a US citizen, lived in the US for 15 years and moved to India a couple of years back. So in the US, there are guys called as Federal Bureau of Investigation profilers. Their job is to identify, based on the criminal records and the civil records people have, to create a profile so that when a crime happens, they can match it to guess who are all the people that could potentially be doing those kind of things. High-end bank robberies or financial white-collar crimes or whichever way you want to look at it. Today, Facebook can do that. You can do that with Facebook. If somebody goes to zadasearch.com and give a first name and last name of a person, you will get the entire resident history of that person in the United States ever since he was in the US or in the Europe. And you can figure out where a person lived, what was his phone number, what was his wife's name, what were the birthdays. You can do Facebook, you can do LinkedIn, you can do Google. And the big data is allowing you to build a complete profile. And if you don't have a proper endpoint security around the data that you have, and if it leaks out for millions of users, and then it will create a phenomenal digital identity theft. And people can impersonate us and become anybody, and they can do a lot of bad things.
Wonderful. So Murali, I think both you and Narayanan brought some very interesting thoughts into this. So just to kind of conclude and wrap up on this, a few areas which I see as positive things which will be for the security domain would be areas like incident and event management. So today, the SIEM data has grown to such an extent that for a very large organization, you no longer get information in near real time. So if you get to know that somebody is trying to attack you one day later, that doesn't serve the purpose. And SIEM is going through that phase of crisis. So I think big data can solve that problem. So there are many such problems which are related to analytics and security are going to be impacted in a positive manner. And in the same way, just like both of you mentioned, it will bring in new attack vectors. Like for example, one big change is like the scripts moving to the data. So that also brings in this factor that the script could be malicious. So now there will be new ways of attacking the big data. So if you are trying to implement big data, you need to look into the kind of different possibilities, do a proper threat modeling, do a proper attack surface analysis check out what are the ways by which you can conduct a multi-stage attack. Because in big data is going to be multi-stage attack, like you attack the script, and the script goes and then finally makes malicious change in the database, and the impact is very huge. The impact of big data security will be